This is the Mack NTS 315, Italian-made 3-phase semi-automatic vertical metal cutting cold saw, featuring a 315mm blade with a 90-degree cutting capacity of 100mm. This machine is somewhat different to the standard pivot machines. The blade runs in the opposite way. So when the vertical head is coming down over the material, this gives you more torque through the gearbox and motor to enable you to cut tougher materials with this machine. Okay, so the cycle of this particular machine is once you've pressed the start button, the clamp here will close on the material, the head of the machine or the blade will come down through the cut, return back to the set point, and the vise will open. The 90-degree cutting capacity of this machine is 70mm solid bar, 100mm tube, 90mm square box, and 80 by 135 rectangular box. To rotate the head to acquire an angled cut, you physically open the kip lever attached to the vise, hold the head and rotate. There is a handle on the side of the machine which will allow you to move the head easily. When you bring back the machine into the point, by locking the kip lever, will lock the bed down to the base plate of the machine so you are ready to cut. To move the vise so that you can mitre both directions, there is 2 cap head screws in the bed of the machine, i.e. the vise. Just release the tension on these screws positioned here and slide the vise across, making sure before cutting that you tighten these screws. As you can see from this panel, you have the main isolator, a 2-speed switch. Obviously locating this into a particular position gives you the tortoise and hare scenario, fast or slow, an emergency stop, a reset button, a start button, coolant on, up with the head, down with the head, and a series of alarm error lights. Once the emergency stop is pressed, the particular light will show on this area here. You do have a memory button on the panel, but particularly on this machine, it's not used due to the high and low points of the machine are set with micro switches on the side of the column. This area here, you can set your bottom point of the blade just by undoing the grub screw here and raising and lowering this collar and fixing off. And to adjust the top point, you have a knob here which you can undo and lower and raise, locking off, so that you have an optimum height where the head is going to come back to. This comes into play when you're cutting smaller materials where you don't want the head to return all the way to the top of its stroke. You can set it slightly lower so that it's cutting the optimum height. At the top of the machine here, you'll have a regulator tap which will control the flow of coolant over the material. Once the coolant has dropped over the material and it's going down into the base of the machine, it will drop, including the chips or the swarf, into the first tray of the machine. When they drop into the first tray of the machine, the chips will remain and the coolant will continue its travel down to the second tray where the electrical coolant pump is located, which will pump the coolant back up to the top of the regulated nozzle back onto the material. So when setting the machine, you turn on the main isolator, you select your speed control and you press the reset button. As soon as you press the start button, the cycle will start. Firstly, the clamp will close, the head will come down through the stroke, the head will return and the clamp will open. To determine the height of the material, you can easily lower the head to just above the material. You can then walk round to the side of the machine and control the return of the head by activating the switch and setting the top stop. When you return back to pressing the start button, The clamp will close, the head will come down and return to the point just above the material.